Oh, the long summer is finally over. What's up, YouTube? It's T Money. Yes, I'm back and I'm ready to shoot more videos. College football is just around the corner. We've got Jake here along with us.
Howdy, howdy.
But the title is not college football. Yes, two NASCAR fans are going to be taking a look at the 2025 NASCAR schedule. And there is a lot to cover on the schedule. So, Jake, I don't know if you actually saw this, or if you did, what's a couple things that you were wanting for the schedule before we take a good look?
Honestly, I really haven't had a chance to look at the full schedule. I know, like, in some of the discords that I'm a part of, they've been discussing little bits and pieces of it, but I haven't had a chance to look at, like, the full-blown schedule. But I know that they're going back to Bowman Gray for the Clash, which
Yep.
was sort of like the birthplace of NASCAR, if I remember hearing correctly.
Yep. And that's actually where we can start with the look of the schedule. There it is in all of its glory. There's a couple of really interesting things that I noticed when looking at this. Starting with, yes, the Clash is going back to one of NASCAR's first tracks at Bowman Gray Stadium. I don't think even Jake here remembers Bowman Gray.
Well, considering NASCAR started in like 1948, let's put it this way: my grandma would have been like 3, so that tells you something.
Yeah. So new track for both me and Jake to see NASCAR go to. We're not going to go to any of these races, most likely. If we were to go to any of these races, it would most likely be August 3rd, Iowa, back on the schedule. We'll get to that here in a little bit. But let's go down the track. Yeah, go down the track. There it is. We've got the duels and the Daytona 500. That's perfectly fine. Atlanta following Daytona. That's typically normal now, rather than going all the way out to the West Coast. The thing that got me, COTA week 3.
Oh wow, they're going road course early this year.
Yeah, they're going to go road course racing week 3 of the year. I kind of like that idea because you think about it a second. They'll probably I think they usually have like 2 or 3 haulers that they carry their cars in. They can have the 2 haulers ready to go out to COTA, one to go to COTA, because one will be returning from Atlanta to their home base, and then they can have the other ones that are ready to go out to the West Coast, which they'll do Phoenix and Las Vegas, which I should also point out, yes, another year where Auto Club is not complete. So my question to you, Jake, before we continue, we're stopping here after Las Vegas. Do we see Auto Club coming back anytime in the future, or did we see the last race prior 2020, I believe?
Well, like I say, I'm not 100% sure, because I know that they were doing like some remodeling and actual like construction and stuff like that on it, and like all that stuff. But again, I haven't really heard anything one way or the other. But like I say, I guess it just depends here, because it seems like the last 3 or 4 seasons, they've just been throwing the schedule into a blender, outside of maybe like, the Daytona 500 in Phoenix being the end. Otherwise, there's been a lot of changes throughout the schedule. But yeah, I'm not going to say that it is going to be taken off the schedule completely, but it'll just be kind of curious to see how long the repave takes, and if there's other tracks that, I guess, superseded or proceeded, or, kind of take its spot or not. But I'm thinking that they'll at least go back and see what it's like before they make a final decision. But I'd imagine we probably haven't seen the last of
Because the only reason I ask is because I saw a video earlier this year. They haven't even started construction on putting in what was going to be a new short track. Because that's what they were doing with Auto Club. They were converting it from, what was it, a 2-mile?
Something like that. It was like either a mile and a half or a 2-mile track.
I think it was a 2-mile tri-oval because it was just short of Daytona, but just longer than a mile and a half. But yeah, I saw a video where they went to the site of where Auto Club was because it's not standing anymore. They haven't even started putting together the short track. Like it's just literally dirt at this point.
Yep.
So the chances of California coming back onto the schedule in the near future, probably not. In the distant future, I don't know. Something would have to give in the next year or two in order for Auto Club to be put back on the schedule.
Honestly, in my opinion, there are some tracks that I think get too many races as it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they like take a double track off, like maybe a Phoenix or or like I don't know, like Richmond or Martins. I wouldn't be surprised if they took one track off, like especially if it has a double. But I just don't know which one you would remove because I think they used to have like 2 or 3 races at Texas, but it looks like they eliminated one of them because if you remember right, in 2022, oh god, that the race in the playoffs was just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
In more than one sense of the word.
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right, back to the schedule here because we'll get to Texas here because I did just now notice that Texas has only got one race, and that's kind of a shock to me. So after the West Coast swing, minus California because that's usually what they do. Okay, honestly, if they're gonna continue with the West Coast swing, I believe Sonoma should be after Phoenix or after Las Vegas, just so that way they can still do like do the whole swing and then come back out to the East Coast. That wouldn't be a bad idea. But after Las Vegas, we go down to Miami, which is it wrong to say Miami isn't my favorite track?
No, I mean Miami for the longest time though I would say is definitely a better track than some of them on here. But it's weird because I don't think I ever hear people say, "Oh my God, we're going to Homestead. This is awesome." With the exception of about the 10 to 15-year stretch where it was the championship race, which in my opinion, they should go back to that, even though apparently what had happened there is Ford lost their sponsorship, or like they lost a sponsorship with Ford or something like that. So they had to, change the schedule because that was like one of the stipulations. Because remember how like about 10 years ago, the championship race was at Homestead. And I'd say up until probably about 5 years ago was at Homestead. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like one of those typical mile and a half tracks. I mean, you either love him or you hate him. But mile and a half seems to be about the most common style of track these days.
Yeah. And then after Miami, we go to the Paperclip out in Martinsville. And then a very, very early visit to the track that's too tough to tame in Darlington. And
I'll be curious to see if that's still their throwback race because it seems awfully early. Yeah, like you say, what, like early April for that?
That is an early April. That is the first Sunday in April.
And I could have sworn they usually do Darlington in like May. Like maybe
hold on. When is Mother's Day? Because typically Darlington is always around Mother's Day weekend.
That's like May 11th, May 18th, kind of like the second or third Saturday in May.
Yeah, Sunday, May 11th, which is Kansas. What the Okay.
Like I
NASCAR, what are
say,
we doing? What are we doing?
I've been saying, these last few years they've been taking a lot of these tracks and throwing them into a blender. Plus, also too, Trev, don't forget weather. Weather is a big factor in why they probably move a lot of these races too, especially with
True.
how sloppy the spring can be in the Midwest.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, just look at this past year as an example. We had like 3 feet of rain in about a month and a half. So it's like,
Yeah.
so
Some
any
more in some parts of our state, up in Spencer, to be a perfect example.
Yeah, Spencer, Rock Valley, places like that. So I can see where they're coming from there too, because they're trying to maybe hit more drier tracks, or like where the weather's kind of even keel. Because obviously, to be fair though, obviously, no matter what you do, once we get towards like the Nashville, Pocono, Chicago, and Sonoma area, we know it's
Yeah.
going to be hot, just
Oh
because
yeah.
it's July, August. Those months typically are the warmest. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think weather probably had a lot to do with why they did what they did.
Yeah. And then for the first time in 2025, we will take a trip over to Bristol, Tennessee, where it's the last great Coliseum, and then we hit the Easter break. Now, granted, NASCAR usually always does like a break in between some races. Like this year, they did the Olympic break. They took 2 weeks off. Yes, they didn't do technically. They should have done a third week because the Olympics were still going on at the time the race got started because the closing ceremony. But whatever.
Plus, like I
Um,
say too, that was also when NBC had the rights, so that makes sense why they would do that. All
yeah,
eyes on the Olympics. But
and
be
that's
curious to see what
why.
they. Yeah, be curious to see what they do for the next Olympics now that they're going to be in the States, and whatever channel is going to broadcast those. If NASCAR will still have NBC at that point, or if that's going to be that streaming break, or they're going to have a few races in there that are streamed and on Prime and stuff. So I'll be kind of curious to see how that goes in a couple years.
Oh, that's right, because this year the new TV deal that I don't think we ever published that video is gonna happen. I don't think I ever uploaded that video, but yeah, NASCAR's got a new deal that includes Prime and TNT's back on as well, which
So that'll
I'm
be kind
actually
of
really excited.
intriguing to, yeah, because I think if I remember, that's right around the time they go to like Texas, North Wilkesboro, Charlotte, and kind of in that area
No,
is
but
sort of when that takes over.
the weird thing is that Fox always has the All Star race, which I believe is what North
North
Wilkesboro is
Wilkesboro.
going to be.
Yep, that's what it is. They went back there here like I think in 2023. Excuse me.
Yeah. But anyway,
So I think that's what they did.
before we get to that, we got three other tracks to talk about. Obviously, everyone's favorite tri-oval track, Talladega. The Earnhardts own that track. Don't quote me. You got Texas, which only has one date. We mentioned that earlier, and then a track that I don't think should have a second date, and that's Kansas. I mean, yes, Kansas it gives the Midwest another race. Don't get
Hmm.
me wrong on that. However, I don't think Kansas is a very entertaining track.
I really haven't watched a lot of Kansas because that's still usually around the time of the year where we get to like the NHL finals and all that stuff, and like the playoffs are going on for the winter sports. So I try to catch what I can when I can, but
Yeah.
I mean, I've always heard good things about Kansas, even if the racing isn't what you would consider, every 2 laps a car spins out, which a lot of people, I don't know, anymore, that's been kind of hit or miss. Like,
Yeah.
either you have a lot of wrecks and a lot of people get angry about that, or, it's, I don't know. But I've just always heard good things about Kansas, so that's probably why they do that. Plus, it's kind of in a central location, so it's not that far from either the west or east coast. But yeah,
Yeah. And then, like we just mentioned like a few seconds ago, North Wilkesboro back on the schedule for the 2025 NASCAR All-Star Race. I like the idea. What North Wilkesboro? It's one of NASCAR's original tracks that they raced at. Might as well keep it on the schedule for a for a legendary event that is the All-Star race. And then following North Wilkesboro is everyone's favorite weekend in motorsports, the Monaco Indy Charlotte trifecta.
That always falls on Memorial Day weekend.
Yep, and that trend continues this year. It took one brief. I will emphasize on the brief. Sorry for your ears. Break because of 2020. When in the Indy 500 happened to be in my birth month, which was fucking awesome. What sucked is that my driver, Marco Andretti, who I've met in person, he's actually really cool to meet in person, got the pole and then didn't lead a single fucking lap.
Oh.
He got the pole. Like, I even have a video of me cheering him on, going around the track, and he got the pole. I posted it on my Facebook. I'm like, yay, Marco actually has a solid chance to win the 500, and he did absolutely nothing other than fall back in the pack. I swear Indianapolis has a curse for their Andrettis, but that's beside the point. We're not talking IndyCar. We're talking NASCAR. Back on track here. Nashville. We go back to Nashville Superspeedway. And then, Jake, NASCAR, for the first time, minus the Truck Series, I believe.
And Busch Series. Busch Series was there in like 04, 05, 06, kind of in that general area. But yeah, it's been a while since NASCAR is like this is the first time the Cup cars are going to Mexico City. I know that the Busch, back when it was the Busch Series, I should say, and the Craftsman Truck Series were there a few times in the past. So,
yeah. Jake basically took it right out of my mouth. The Cup Series for the first time is going international down to Mexico City. I wonder what track they're going to do. Are they going to do the F1 track? That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Maybe. Or maybe, I don't know if they still have the, because if I remember right, it is like you say, like a road course. But,
don't mind my cursor. I'm actually going to look and see. Mexico City Cup track. Oh, no. NASCAR Cup track. I think it is. They're going to the F1 track. They're going to. I'm going to butcher this too. So for any Mexican that speaks diehard Spanish, I apologize. But they're Oh, they do have an oval in their track. Oh, they might do that. That'd be cool. They're going to Autodrome Hermos Rodriguez.
Yep.
Which
I think that was actually the name of. Yeah, I think it was actually the name of the track too. Like I say, I remember watching the Busch Series race here, going on about 20 years ago, and that seemed to be a pretty entertaining one.
Oh yeah, and I'm not even gonna lie. I love the design for the F1 track. So basically, if Mexico City is going to be another road course, actually, it wouldn't be a road course. It would be a stadium circuit, because I don't remember which turn it is. It's this right here. This right here is a stadium area, because there's grandstands here, over here, over here, over here, and then it's like the turn here with like a big spot of concrete right here, so that way you have to take the turn around. But yeah, I love that. But then again, if NASCAR wants to do it, they could do. Hold on, can I? Can I open this so that way we can actually look at this, please? The f did I do? Oh, okay. Hold on, stand by. Hold on. Let me open Google Maps real quick. Don't
All right.
open up my apartment, please. I'm gonna zoom out just in case it does. Autodrome Rodriguez. Okay, so what I was talking about is they could. I can't. Can I rotate this? No, I can't. So this is the front straightaway right here. So they could just do literally this and call it good if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see them doing the entire F1 circuit. Because like there's some pictures of it. There's the stadium section I was talking about. Yeah, this track looks really gorgeous. So I love this track. I'm really glad that they're actually going back there. Okay, present. Okay, present, share screen, window, bang, bang. All right, back to the schedule here. After Mexico City, we go to Michigan. Now, Michigan, I love Michigan. I know I've watched some really nice racing from Michigan. Granted, the race I'm referring to, Dale Earnhardt Jr. dominated, but that's beside the point. And then we go to the only time that we go to the Tricky Triangle this year, Pocono. Pocono has lost a race in the upcoming year. I'm assuming they got rid of Pocono's second race to put in Mexico City.
That would be my guess, or they took off like either one of the Texas or Pocono races for Mexico City and Coda maybe, or
Coda's week 3. Remember?
I know, but like, did they race at Coda this year?
Yeah, they already did. They did that hella early this year. It was like 4 or 5 weeks in.
Okay. Because I know sometimes they'll do that, but yeah. So that'd be my guess too. Is they probably took out either Pocono or Texas to make the Mexico City race probably Pocono.
Yeah. And then following the Tricky Triangle's only visit, we go back to Atlanta for the second time and the last time on this schedule. And then if they decide to stick with the Chicago Street Course, the drivers of the Cup Series get hit with a back-to-back road course week. They get Chicago Street Course, and then you go out to wine country in Sonoma. Okay. If I had to pick my favorite road course, we haven't even talked about Watkins Glen. I'm not a real big fan of Watkins Glen. I mean, they did the one year
for me.
They did the 1 year where they did the longer course where they still do the bus stop, but instead of going all the way around that one turn, they go around the turn and then they do the wishbone. If you know what I'm talking about.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that. If they brought that back for Watkins Glen, I think the racing would be so much better. But beside the point, Sonoma is one of my favorite road courses. I've always loved Sonoma.
Oh yeah, that's always been kind of an entertaining track.
Oh yeah, because not only does NASCAR goes there, but MotoGP goes there too. But they do the other configuration, and so does IndyCar for their championship for their last race of the year. If it's not a championship race, because typically they'll have the championship, just like how F1 does it. They'll have the champion basically crowned before the last race of the year. I mean, I don't care, but that's beside the point. And then this track has not left our mouth the entire damn video. Dover is back on the schedule, but they're like late into the year, the last third of the year. which is
Interesting.
really interesting because I know the Monster Mile always had like 2 races every year.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get hit with the yard of bricks. The Brickyard 400 back on the schedule. And then to the land of corn we go. Iowa is back on the schedule. Fuck yes. I am certainly going to try and get tickets for that race because I want to go. I really want to go. I'm so sad that they sold out so fast.
Yeah, like I say, buddy, I have a feeling that those puppies, if you're going to get them, you may want to get them as soon as you possibly can, if you still can. Because, especially anytime a new track or a new track, because Iowa really isn't new, it was just new to the Cup Series.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's always going to be very, difficult to get tickets because everyone's like, ooh, it's kind of like when a new gas station opens up in town or like a new convenience store opens up and everybody flocks there to see what
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like. And then after a couple of years, it kind of mellows out. But
That's
yeah,
kind of
like I
like what
say,
Casey's was. Because
mhm.
Casey's like, it was only like in certain spots that there was a Casey's. And then all of a sudden, it just like exploded. And now there's Casey's all the way down in Florida.
Same with Quick Trip, Quick Star.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Midwest gas stations. Look out, world. Or look out, America.
we're
Midwest
coming
gas
for you.
stations are going to explode, and you're going to be scared about it, and y'all are going to love it.
Yeah, but like I say, kind of going back to Iowa. Well, it even sounded like a lot of the drivers really loved Iowa. There was like a little bit of,
There was
you know,
there was a little small complaints just because of the repave, I believe. But
well, yeah,
I would go ahead.
because they didn't finish like the repave, like
Yeah.
parts of it they paved and parts of it they didn't. But for the most part, everyone was just like, yeah, if they paved it up to the wall, this would be one of the best races maybe on the entire circuit. But it's nice to see, especially because for those of you who may or may not know, obviously if you probably know, but Trev and I live in Iowa, and when
Oh
Rusty
yeah.
Wallace, one of the legends in NASCAR history, basically took money out of his own pocketbook with like a couple of investors and a couple of other people, built the Iowa Speedway, and to see it still just as popular today as it was about 10 years ago is nice to see.
And not
Especially now that they
only
have the Cup Series.
do they now have the Cup Series. Okay, did the Xfinity Series race here yet this year, or are they still doing, or is that a race later?
I think they did the same weekend, but
Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, actually no, this year it was the Truck Series, the ARCA Series, and then the Cup Series. So Xfinity has yet to do their Iowa race this year. But the cool thing about the Xfinity Series, I don't think I'm high enough, sorry. The cool thing about the Xfinity Series is that I think their Iowa race is a playoff race. If I remember correctly. I can't remember, but I know that Xfinity used to do 2 Iowa races. One of them going based off of because I played NASCAR Heat 5 a lot. Still a very fun game, by the way. The one of them is the US Sailor 250, which I don't think that's what it's called anymore, but I'm just going based off that. And then they do a second one later in the year, and it's typically right after the playoffs start. I think it's a round 1 playoff race. But yeah, just glad to see that Iowa's back on the Cup schedule. And then we've got a second to last road course of the year, and that is going to be Watkins Glen International. And then I also just now noticed Richmond is only getting 1 race this year. Which, granted, I'm glad. Richmond is not that fun to watch. It's fun to race on in the video games because it's a very easy track. But it's not that fun to watch, especially with how this year's Richmond races went.
Yeah, the package was suffering tremendously for Richmond. That's what a lot of people and a lot of NASCAR fans and drivers have been saying for the last couple of years. So,
yeah. And then we round out the regular season with the classic Daytona for the Coke 400 or the Coke Zero 400. And then now we get into the playoff races, starting with the round of 16. I think this is the same as this year's races. I don't remember, but it's Darlington, St. Louis at Worldwide Technology Raceway, which is just east of actual St. Louis because the Gateway Arch is literally in the shadow, basically just right across the river. Very gorgeous racetrack. I drove by it when I was in St. Louis. It's gorgeous. And then you do the Bristol night race. I think that's still the night race. The second race is always the night race, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Unless they've changed that too, like I say. But I'm guessing it's still technically the night race.
Yeah. And then we go to the round of 12, which is New Hampshire, Kansas, and then the last road course on the schedule, the Charlotte Roval. I love the Roval. I actually really do. Have I actually watched a race on it yet? No, I've watched highlights, but it's still a really nice track. But moving on, we got the round of 8, Las Vegas, the only super speedway in the playoffs, in Talladega. Excuse me. You got Martinsville, and then to round out the 2025 schedule in the first weekend of November, back to Phoenix for the NASCAR Cup Series Championship. Now, my question to you, Jake, is, and this is kind of going away from the schedule itself. If you were to do what Rusty Wallace did, pull money out of your pocket if you have it, and get some investors and put a track somewhere in the country that would attract the Cup Series, where would you put it, and when would you like to have said race?
Ooh, this is. I mean, I guess maybe you could. I'd be kind of curious to see what a race in like Colorado or like the Dakotas, kind of like that Rocky Mountain area, kind of see what that'd be like. Just because I think we have enough in the Midwest, really. Obviously Iowa would be a choice, but we already have Iowa. Minnesota would be kind of intriguing, but I don't, like where I don't know. That'd be kind of interesting. But honestly, I think like a Colorado or like a Utah or something like that, kind of in the Rockies. I think that'd be kind of interesting. So
I've got a suggested state. And yes, this might be a little biased when I say this state. Louisiana. Think about that a minute. Think about that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Put it in Baton Rouge. Put it in Baton Rouge. Don't put it in New Orleans because that's too close to the water. And if a flood happens right before the race weekend, they'd have to cancel the whole weekend. So
that's the only, like I say, that'd be the only concern I'd have with Louisiana. But it would be kind of cool, though. Like down deep in the South and stuff like that. So,
and make it kind of like how they do Talladega, but make it a mile, make it like a 3/4 mile track.
Kind of like
make it a short track, but like with the Talladega style, with the start finish line like after pit road.
That would be interesting.
Turn 1 and 2 would be where if you would look at the map where the front stretch is like right here, turns 1 and 2 would be technically, if you're looking straight on, 3 and 4, and turns 3 and 4 would be 1 and 2, if that makes sense.
I see where you're coming from there, yeah.
Yeah. That'd be kind of cool to see that.
Yeah, it would be.
But yeah. But guys, that is going to do it with the NASCAR video. I got to go do something really quick, and then me and Jake are going to be filming a college football season preview video where I've got a couple questions that I want to ask, and we're going to give our opinions on each question that I ask. Plus, we're going to make our week 0 predictions along with that. So stay tuned for that. I'll get this uploaded right after I end this video. and then we can start that. But until the college football video, guys, me and Jake are out. We will see you relatively soon. Have a great day.